It's Thursday, March 18th, and this is now on HNN.
What happens right now and over the course of the coming months will send a message for generations to come as to whether we matter.
Days after 6 Asian women were killed in Georgia, a hearing on Capitol Hill. I'm Nancy Chin with what community leaders are calling for in stopping anti-Asian American violence and discrimination.
We are working to return people to campus.
New at noon, an update from the University of Hawaii about the reopening of campuses in the fall.
Whatever it takes, I guess we'll weave through the process.
Planning a trip, a look at how those so-called vaccine passports could look and work.
We are actually encouraging everyone to start using the area code.
These stories plus changes are coming to the way you make phone calls. Those details coming up on This Is Now.
We begin with breaking news. Take a look at this video just into our newsroom. HPD has restricted traffic in Waikiki as officers deal with a barricade situation. Now, right now, 3 lanes are closed on McCulley Street heading into Waikiki between Alawai Boulevard and Kalakaua Avenue. Motorists should expect delays. Now, our crew at the scene sent us this photo of the man believed to be barricading himself in the building, peering out the window. We will continue to follow this story and bring you any developments as they come in. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. Let's get you those latest coronavirus numbers from the State Department of Health. Health officials are reporting 88 new cases today and no new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 7 cases on the Big Island, 39 on Maui, 2 on Molokai, 38 on Oahu, and 2 people were diagnosed out of state.
I want to take us live now to Washington, D.C. This is a live video feed coming into the H&N Digital Center. A House committee just spent the morning examining the rise in violence aimed at Asian Americans, and breaking news from our own state capitol. A Senate Judiciary Committee just passed a resolution denouncing all forms of anti-Asian racism. Nancy Chin has more on this still developing story.
For the victims and the victims' family.
A moment of silence in Atlanta for victims of the attacks that killed 8 people on Tuesday, 6 of them Asian women. While police are investigating the shooter's motives, Asian American leaders say their community is devastated.
The past 2 days have been terrible for our community, but it is not just the last couple of days.
Speaking at a House subcommittee hearing, California Democrat Judy Chu said anti-Asian crime since the start of the pandemic has become a crisis that cannot be ignored.
Many of the victims have been older and vulnerable, like Bishop Ratanapaki, an 84-year-old Thai man in San Francisco, who was killed in an unprovoked assault. Today, we find that there have been nearly 3,800 anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents in just the year alone.
One study finds the number of anti-Asian hate crimes rose 149% in 16 major U.S. cities in 2020. Actor Daniel Day Kim called on Congress to pass anti-hate legislation.
What happens right now and over the course of the coming months will send a message for generations to come as to whether we matter. Whether the country we call home chooses to erase us or include us.
President Biden ordered the White House flag be lowered to half-staff in honor of the Atlanta victims. He'll travel with Vice President Harris to Georgia on Friday to offer support to a community in pain. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
New at noon, President Joe Biden just delivered remarks on the status of vaccinations across the country. I wanted to play out some of what he had to say.
And I'm proud to announce that tomorrow, 58 days into our administration, we will have met my goal of administering 100 million shots to our fellow Americans. Today, 65% of people aged 65 or older have received at least 1 shot, and 36% are fully vaccinated.
New today, UH President David Lassner discussed COVID-19's impacts on higher education at the Board of Regents meeting. Here's some of what he had to say about the fall semester.
We are working to return people to campus, but in a sense, fall will be a transition semester from a mostly online spring 2020 to a mostly in-person spring 2022. But we aren't certain yet that all of our students will be vaccinated. We don't know yet what guidance we'll be receiving from CDC and the Department of Health about physical distancing, currently with a 6-foot guideline in place. We are planning conservatively to maximize safety, but we think we will continue to see an increase of people on our campuses. One of the things that we've observed is that even with most of our courses online, activity on all of our campuses is picking up over these past weeks.
Canada is the second largest international market to the islands, so what's going on with the country's reopening? Let's check in with CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg.
This week, Canada was supposed to announce whether they're going to open their borders on the 21st, right? That's in 3 days. I can tell you right now, it ain't going to happen. Prime Minister Trudeau just 2 days ago said, we'd love to open them, but not right now, citing as the cause the lack of vaccines to get to their own folks. Same is true in Ireland. We're just hoping that if they can ramp that up, they'll be in a better position to then accept other travelers who've been vaccinated. So obviously we'll keep you on top of this, and let you know what happens. But the bottom line is, as we're getting vaccinated at the rate of 2 million people a day, if you go back to the beginning of February, just to the end of April, that's another 60 million Americans ready to travel. And believe me, we are ready to travel. Even though the CDC has not issued any rules saying it's okay to travel, nobody's paying attention. They're traveling because they think if they've been vaccinated, they've been liberated, and they haven't.
Airlines are working to make it easier and safer for people to navigate the ever-changing and complex travel requirements. One solution we've been hearing a lot about is that so-called vaccine passport. Sarah Harmon shows us how it could work.
This week, as air travel hits new records since the pandemic began, passengers are struggling to make sense of the ever-changing requirements.
I sat in my office and spent a half a day printing out forms.
Yeah, it seems to be changing about every month or two, so whatever it takes, I guess we'll weave through the process.
But now the first travelers are taking off, testing a new travel pass app created by the International Air Transport Association that could make the process much smoother.
If we stay in this manual mode, it will be complete chaos when international borders open. So we need a digital process.
Here's how it works. You download the Travel Pass app on your iPhone, then snap a selfie and scan your passport to verify your identity.
If you're vaccinated, you can upload a copy of your certificate. If your destination requires a COVID test,
Time for the PCR test.
you can book in at a participating lab. The results will automatically upload in the app.
A green check mark means you're clear to travel.
Travel Pass is currently being trialed by more than a dozen airlines, with plans to expand. U.S.-based companies American and United have recently signed on too. The airline industry is in crisis. Last year, demand was down 65%.
It is extremely important that we have a system that is internationally recognized, similar to your passport.
And equally key for all of us who just need a break.
To be clear, it's not the airlines that are requiring this. It's the individual countries that set the standards for what papers you need to enter. The airlines themselves are actually quite hesitant to create any barriers to travel. That's part of the reason we don't expect to see COVID passports become required domestically within the United States. But if you are headed overseas this summer, Travel Pass or something like it could be in your future. Sarah Harmon, NBC News, Doha, Qatar.
An update to a story we've been following all week. A permanent backup is now online for a critical tsunami warning system. NOAA tells us buoy data from the DART system is now being processed and is available to forecasters. The cloud-based backup was up and running yesterday. Officials say this is a full system with all the same features. The outage started on March 9th when servers at NOAA's headquarters were knocked offline. DART data wasn't available until 6 days later when crews were able to create a workaround. The Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunami system uses buoys and devices to measure earthquakes and sea levels worldwide in real time.
Throughout the pandemic, there have been large outbreaks at state prisons. MCCC is still dealing with one. Today on Sunrise, we got an update with the head of DPS.
As far as we know, the only outbreak right now is at the Maui Community Correctional Center. Is that still true?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so can you give us an update on what is going on with that situation right now?
Okay. Yesterday, we had 33 inmates that were tested at MCCC, 32 tested negative, and we had 1 test positive. As of right now, we have 12 active inmates at that facility, and we have 74 inmates that have recovered.
Okay, so how much of a problem is overcrowding at that particular prison?
Overcrowding is a problem for all of our jails and prisons in Hawaii, and that has been a long-standing problem with Hawaii.
So as far as we know, I believe in the past year, there was an effort to let out some prisoners because of this overcrowding issue. Did that ease the problem at all?
It did for a while. This was before I became director here in December. Supreme Court ordered that, work with the Hawaii Patrolling Authority to get more inmates out. It did relieve some of the overcrowding situations, but inmates, defendants and inmates still get sent to us on a regular basis.
So they're not still being let out because of COVID at this time?
We're still working with them to get inmates out that qualify. But I think, when they initially did it, there was a lot more inmates that qualified for release as compared to what we have today.
So walk us through the process, Max, because this is something that we have not heard about. But if a prisoner tests positive for coronavirus, what happens next?
Okay, testing is done voluntarily. We cannot force people to test, but upon intake, they're offered the test, and if they elect to have the test, well, everybody that comes in, goes into like a quarantine module. And when we say quarantine, it's not quarantine in such that we see in the community. It's a quarantine module, so they're quarantined in cohorts. So, if they come in and they're displaying symptoms, then they'll go into medical isolation. If they come in and, while waiting for tests or they refuse testing, then they'll be quarantined until such time that we deem them appropriate to move into general population.
What rights do prisoners have? I mean, when you have a pandemic like this and you're trapped in these overcrowded jails, can they say, I want more distance, I want to be isolated from people? I mean, what rights do they have?
That's a good question. If we had the space, we would give them the space, but we do not have the space. And, we do not have the authority to release inmates. So it puts us in a very difficult situation.
There's a new push to help police with parking enforcement across the state. A bill would allow any county employee to write a ticket. Chelsea Davis has the details.
Parking has been an issue here at Laniakea Beach on Oahu's North Shore for years, so much so no parking signs have been installed because it was getting out of control. But some state lawmakers think authorizing any county employee to write tickets might solve the problem.
Where are the no parking signs?
It's as if the warnings don't exist at Laniakea Beach on Oahu's North Shore.
I don't think people really abide by the no parking signs here because no one seems to enforce it.
That's exactly what State Representative Nadine Nakamura hopes to solve with House Bill 605.
What this bill does is allows the police chief to use non-police officers to cite cars that may be illegally parked or have other traffic violations.
Other county employees would be given special authority to cite people for traffic violations along state highways.
Following the rules of the road is super important for safety. And when people park the wrong way or in the wrong place, then they actually create a safety hazard. Because if you're walking or biking, you might have to go around the wrong parked car and then you might get hit.
The largest public workers union in Hawaii says writing tickets is not a daily function for positions outside of law enforcement, and it raises issues of liability. They say only law enforcement officers have the skill set to enforce and address violations.
I feel like the state really needs to give us better options than that, and not just try to restrict us and ticket us.
Reporting from Oahu's North Shore, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Starting in October, we'll have to dial the 808 area code even if you're calling your next door neighbor. The FCC is mandating that all local calls in Hawaii must include the 808 area code. It's because the National Suicide Prevention Line is adopting the 3-digit 988 number, similar to how 911 works for emergency services. Because some local numbers start with the 988 after the area code, the entire state and many others must use area codes for all local calls.
We are actually encouraging everyone to start using the area code from April 24th, but really Hawaiian Telecom customers can actually start dialing 10 digits now. We have already completed the requirements to our network to enable this.
The official change goes into effect October 24th. And we're told if you forget to dial the 7 digits, you'll get a recording reminding you to dial the area code as well.
If you have security alarms or a fax machine or any other device that's programmed to a local number without the area code at this time, you'll want to update it to include the area code before October 24th, or those devices may not work.
So if you're working from home, you know internet speeds can be a problem. Let's toss it over to Howard Dykes, who's joined by a guest to explain how there's new help for that.
Thousands more spots have been wired for high-speed broadband across Hawaii. Jason Toon joins us from Hawaiian Telecom. Jason, for years, the telephone companies have known that they would benefit economically from having more bandwidth to offer customers. But it seems like COVID has taught us all a lesson about how much we need a lot of internet connectivity.
That's absolutely right, Howard. Right now, the amount of bandwidth that we've been seeing consumed by our customers has increased about 50% from right about a year ago. A lot of that's going to things like your online gaming, kids doing their remote learning, and very much so the types of conversations you and I are having over Zoom or WebEx that consumes a lot of bandwidth. And when everybody's at home, you just multiply that by 4 or 5, and before you know it, you're using up a whole bunch of bandwidth.
And telemedicine, too. We're seeing a lot more health consultations this way.
Absolutely. And when you want to have a video with your doctor or physician, it's important to have a high quality video stream that's going on so that they can see, exactly what they're looking at.
Now, Hawaiian Telecom was already doing this rewiring across the state, and it was a kind of work that wasn't interrupted by COVID. So you got a lot done in 2020.
We absolutely did. We did about a little over 10,000 statewide. One of the good things in us being able to move a little quicker is everybody's home. So we're not blocking people driving themselves to work. We're also not having to submit as many permits to block traffic during rush hour. So it was really good partnership that we had with the State Department of Transportation and the counties in allowing us to provide broadband to a lot of areas.
Interesting. Well, there's the law of unintended consequences. What challenges do you run into when you go into more remote areas with this rewiring?
Really, the biggest challenge that we find is trees. You've probably heard a lot about the albesias on the Big Island, and we are just as much a victim to that as the electric company and homeowners and residences. That's what slows us down the most.
Thank you for that report, Howard. And speaking of trees and elements outside, I just got this video in. Let me pull it up. This is from EP Ryan Wilson. This is from the east side of Oahu. You can see those trees just moving around as the heavy rain falls there. Let's take you somewhere else. I know. This Netflix stay-in weather continues. That's looking downtown there. And see a little wobble in the camera too as those winds appear to pick up as well. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Guy Hoggy with an update.
How's it on this Thursday? We'll have an ample amount of clouds and showers moving through the state for the next few days. We'll also get increasing trade winds. Now, the combination means that the showers will be moving along at a good pace. That will help to limit the rainfall totals, help to limit the flooding. But remember, it won't take a lot of rain to cause flooding because the ground is saturated across the state. And there are those winds, very brisk and breezy. They start today and they'll run very swift all the way through Sunday before easing up the early part of next week. So we'll have a mixed bag of weather today. Some sunshine in the afternoon is expected for leeward sides. It's going to be especially damp and cloudy this morning for windward areas especially. And we still have a high surf advisory on for small and a small craft advisory as well. Now that high surf advisory will be extended until Saturday for east shores because of the strengthening trade winds. The east wind swell will kick up big for the next several days. We're also expecting a moderate swell by this afternoon for north and west shores. So again, we're in for a pretty long run of very blustery weather. Strong trade winds all the way through Sunday. We'll also get scattered showers out there, mainly for windward areas, but because the trade winds will be strong, they'll be drifting over to leeward sides every now and then. We lose the trade winds the early part of next week, but we're also expecting more rain about that time. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Thanks, Guy. Non-fungible tokens? Yeah. That's all the rage on the internet these days. They're known as NFTs, and they're the latest rage in the crypto world. And even Charmin toilet paper is getting in on the action. Yeah, they have these EFTs, digital artwork that is collectible, and they've made 5 different pieces here. I know it's all very confusing for me still, but they have 5 different available. Right now they're up for bids from $500 to $2,100. Most of the money will go to charity. Other brands have also gotten in on this, including Pizza Hut. So they're digital artworks, they're collectible, and they've been transformed into verifiable assets. You know, this all has to do with Bitcoin and all that stuff that's so confusing to me, but is making a lot of people a lot of money. We just saw last week someone sold one of their tweets, right?
Yeah, and they had NFTs going up for auction for millions of dollars, like paintings, digital paintings. I know.
This is now EFT, maybe? I don't know. What'd you find out?
So, how about starting your mornings with Mountain Dew? Yep, that's right. That's what PepsiCo is banking on, and this sounds like something Jonathan would like. It's a new line of energy drinks. So the brand teamed up with sports icon LeBron James to launch Mountain Dew Rise Energy. Each 16-ounce can has 180 milligrams of caffeine and 0 grams of added sugar. The drinks are also made with fruit juice, vitamins A and C, antioxidants, and zinc. Mountain Dew Rise Energy comes in 6 flavors, including pomegranate, blue burst.
A lot of celebrities getting in on the beverage game. You know, Justin Timberlake got into it a while ago with those teas, I believe, and then The Rock, not too long ago, announced he has one coming out. And you're right, I'll give him a shot. I need that in my life.
No, definitely. You need to eat solid foods, Jonathan.
What's going to keep me up?
This is really cool, you guys. So if you have a hidden or not so hidden talent, Make-A-Wish wants you for their 2nd annual Stars at Home virtual talent show. So anyone from the community can enter. Last year we saw everything from dancing, singing, cooking, magic. I made balloon animals.
Oh yeah.
So you can submit your video by next week, Friday, March 26th, and you can do that at wish.org/Hawaii. And online voting takes place in April, and the winner will get 4 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines and a pizza party from Domino's.
Yeah, we saw someone doing some exercises there even as their talent, which is certainly a talent that I need to get into. Give us a hint, same talent, or are you going to switch it up?
I'm not sure. I mean, that was my one and only hidden talent.
Oh, that's so not true.
I know,
That's so not true.
Think about it.
You guys, so we have a little time to think about it, Ash. I'll ask you again tomorrow. But we'll be back here for that. It's Friday, guys. It's coming right around the corner. We'll see you then.